July 27th, 2015. St. Petersburg, Russia, just after midnight. She moved slowly down the hallway. Her hands shook. The plastic bag she dragged was leaking. Red drops hit the floor, one by one. It was silent, too silent. The neighbors were asleep, but something was very wrong. She smelled bleach, old blood, rotten meat. The lights flickered. Inside the bag was a human head. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She smiled. This wasn't her first time, and it wouldn't be her last. Why did no one stop her? How did a sweet old woman turn into a killer? And how many people did she really kill? This is a true story. Every detail, every horror. You can look it up. Subscribe to an unbelievable true story. Because evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a grandma's smile. Chapter 1. She moved slowly down the hallway. Her hands shook. The plastic bag she dragged was leaking. Red drops hit the floor, one by one. It was silent, too silent. The neighbors were asleep, but something was very wrong. She smelled bleach, old blood, rotten meat. The lights flickered. Inside the bag was a human head. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She smiled. This wasn't her first time, and it wouldn't be her last. Why did no one stop her? How did a sweet old woman turn into a killer? And how many people did she really kill? This is a true story. Every detail, every horror. You can look it up. Subscribe to Unbelievable True Story, because evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a grandma's smile. The street was quiet, too quiet. A soft wind passed through the alley, lifting torn leaves and forgotten bits of trash. A cat sat on a broken window ledge, eyes glowing, tail twitching. Down below, the street lamp flickered once, then hummed with a low electric buzz. At first, there was nothing, just the sound of wind, the dripping of a pipe, the buzz of the city asleep. Then came the sound. Drag, drag, drag. It was wet, it was heavy, and it was coming from inside the building. The hallway light blinked to life, buzzing like a dying fly. A shadow moved behind a cracked glass door. Then slowly, it opened. She stepped out. Small, thin, wrapped in a long, tattered coat. Her slippers were worn down flat. Her hands, pale and veiny, clutched a thick black bag. A trash bag. It sagged in the middle. Something was inside, something big, and the bottom leaked. She didn't look down at the blood trailing behind her. She knew it was there. She had planned for it. Drag, drag, drag. Each pull of the bag scraped the floor. It made a wet sound, like meat being moved across tile. She paused at the stairwell, looked left, looked right. Nobody. The building was asleep. The people were safe in bed, warm, dreaming. They had no idea. With a grunt, she bent low and lifted the bag just enough to drop it down one stair. It thudded, then again, and again. Thud, drag, thud, drag. She made it to the first floor, then to the door. She opened it slowly, so slowly. She stepped outside. The night was colder than usual for July. The sky was a dirty gray, clouds hiding the stars. Street lamps cast orange pools of light that looked like fire on the wet pavement. She pulled the bag onto the sidewalk. It left a long, dark smear, blood, but she kept moving. Not fast, not slow, just steady. She had done this before. As she dragged the bag, she whispered softly under her breath. Not words, just soft hums. The kind of sound a child makes when rocking a doll. A soft, sweet tune, one only she could hear. Her face was blank, but her eyes, they were alive. She looked at the buildings on either side. Balconies hung low, like tired mouths. Windows dark, curtains still, no one watching. She smelled the wet iron of blood. She could feel it seeping through the bag, sticky on her hands. But she didn't flinch. She didn't care. She had seen worse. Years ago, in hospitals. She had cleaned worse. They had called her kind once. Helpful. Polite. But no one ever asked what she saw. No one asked what she wanted. The bag slid again. Drag, drag, drag. Her back ached. Her breath came short, but she didn't stop. She was close now. Up ahead was the woods. Not far from the building, just a small patch of trees. It was quiet, always quiet. She knew every path there, every shadow. It was the perfect place. She had used it before. The bag caught on a rock. She stopped, looked down. Her lip curled, just for a second. Then she reached into her coat pocket. She pulled out gloves, carefully slid them on. Then she bent over. Her knees cracked. She picked the bag up and tossed it off the path. It landed with a soft, wet thud. Then silence. She stood there, breathing, looking at the trees. She didn't pray. She didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She turned and walked home. Tamara Samsonova returned home slowly. The hallway smelled of boiled potatoes and floor polish. Faded wallpaper peeled away in curls. The ceiling light buzzed like a trapped fly. She took her time on the stairs. Her legs were stiff. Her back screamed. She didn't mind. When she reached the third floor, she paused, listened. No voices, no footsteps, only silence. She unlocked her door. Click. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dim apartment. The kind of place where time had stopped. The wallpaper was yellowed and torn. The furniture, old Soviet style, sat like tired ghosts. Everything was still, frozen. She walked straight to the sink, turned on the tap. Cold water ran over her gloved hands, turning pink. She peeled the gloves off slowly, dropped them in the trash. Then she washed, again and again, scrubbing the skin like she was cleaning tools. Red water circled the drain. She didn't look away. At the kitchen table sat a cup of tea, still warm. She sat down slowly. The chair creaked under her weight. She looked around the room. Everything was in its place, the way she liked it. Clean, quiet, safe. On the table lay her notebook. Brown leather cover, black ink pen. She opened it. The page was blank. She began to write. I killed her. I cut her into pieces in the bathroom. I wrapped the head. I placed the body in black bags. I cleaned the floor with bleach. Then I made tea. She paused. Then added, I feel calm now. She set the pen down, folded her hands, and smiled. On the wall beside her, a small TV sat on a shelf. The news played, soft and distant. A male voice spoke in Russian. Police are investigating the discovery of a woman's torso in Frunzensky district. The victim's identity remains unknown. The body was found in a black trash bag by a man walking his dog. Tamara looked up. She watched the screen. Her face didn't move. She sipped her tea. The anchor continued. Neighbors report no strange sounds, no unusual smells. Police believe the body was dumped overnight. She turned off the TV. The room fell silent again. She closed the notebook, stood, walked to the window, pulled back the curtain. The sky was still gray. The trees swayed in the wind. Somewhere out there, the bag waited. She smiled softly. July 26th, 2015. Frunzensky District, St. Petersburg. Petersburg, 6:17 a.m. The city was still waking. A man walked his golden retriever down a narrow side street. He wore a hoodie and headphones. The dog tugged at the leash, eager. They passed broken fences, rusted dumpsters, and rows of quiet buildings. Nothing unusual. Until the dog stopped, growled, pulled hard to the left. The man frowned, yanked the leash. What is it, boy? The dog barked, sniffed, then froze in front of a black plastic bag sitting against the sidewalk wall. The bag was tied tight, but something was wrong. It wasn't trash day. The man pulled off his headphones, bent down slowly. The smell hit him first, rotten, heavy, sweet and sour like spoiled meat. He gagged, stumbled back. He didn't touch the bag. He didn't open it. He called the police. 6:43 a.m. 2 officers arrived in an old Lada police car. tired, unshaven, not expecting anything serious. The man pointed. "It smells. I think it's human." One officer poked the bag with his baton. It didn't move like garbage. He pulled on gloves, cut the plastic. Inside, a woman's torso, headless, armless, wrapped in a shower curtain. Blood had soaked the cloth. The skin was pale, grayish. One officer looked away. The other whispered, "Jesus." The man with the dog threw up in the bushes. An ambulance arrived, then crime scene techs. The street was taped off. Neighbors came out in slippers, robes, hushed voices. No one knew the woman. No one had seen anything. And then, another bag. Down the street near a dumpster. Inside, arms, wrapped in the same curtain pattern. Another, legs, cut clean at the thighs. 8 bags total, each carefully tied, each placed in a new spot just far enough to delay discovery. The killer had taken their time, planned it, cleaned it. But why? Detectives were called. One of them, Yuri Galkin, had been with the St. Petersburg police for 18 years. He had seen a lot. But this was surgical, cold, almost practiced. The cuts were clean, too clean. "Could be a butcher," he said quietly. They found no ID, no face, only body parts, and an eerie smell that stayed on their gloves, their clothes, their skin. They bagged the remains, sent them to forensics. The area was searched again. Door-to-door questioning began. No one had heard a scream. No one had seen a thing. Forensics report. Female 5 feet 4 inches. Estimated age, 40 to 60. Cause of death, unknown. No defensive wounds. Dismemberment post-mortem tool used. Sharp kitchen knife or small saw. No matches in the missing persons database. No tattoos. No scars. No name. She was a mystery, a ghost. But someone had known her. Someone had touched her. Someone had cleaned up after. And that someone was still out there, walking the same streets, smiling at neighbors, waiting for the knock. Detective Galkin stood at the dump site. His boots crunched broken glass. The sun was rising. He looked at the trees, the windows above. One of them hid a killer. He didn't know her name yet. But he would. July 27, 2015. St. Petersburg Police Station, forensics lab detective Yuri Galkin stood under harsh lights. His eyes were tired. His hands smelled like bleach. The victim still had no name, no ID, no fingerprint match. Galkin stared at the black trash bags again. So neat, so precise. "Someone took their time," he muttered. He turned to the pathologist. "Anything else?" The man hesitated, then nodded. "We found paper inside one of the bags, folded, tucked near the torso." Galkin raised an eyebrow. "Paper?" The pathologist handed it to him. Gloves on, it was damp, smelled like blood, but the ink was still there, neat, careful, Russian cursive. He read aloud, "I killed her. I cut her into pieces in the bathroom. I wrapped the head. I placed the body in black bags. I cleaned the floor with bleach." Silence. Galkin stared at the page. "Wait," he said. "There's more. I made tea. I felt calm. She was difficult. She disrespected me. It had to be done." An address. That was the last line on the page. A real street. A real building. Dmitrovsky Lane, room 1, 3rd floor. Galkin looked up. "Get a car," he said. "Now." July 28th, 2015. Dmitrovsky Lane, 10:12 a.m. Detectives Galkin and Smirnova climbed the stairs. The hallway was still, old wallpaper, shoe scuff marks on the walls, a faint smell of cooked cabbage. They stopped at apartment 1. The door was brown, heavy, metal bolt above the knob. Galkin knocked. Once, twice. No answer. He nodded to the officer behind him. They broke the lock. The door swung open. The smell hit them instantly. Bleach, old blood, and something else, like meat left out too long. Galkin raised his hand to cover his nose. They stepped in slowly. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Every surface gleamed, scrubbed, sanitized. Yet, something still felt wrong. In the kitchen, a chair, a table, a cup of cold tea, and a notebook. Brown leather, open, waiting. Galkin flipped through the pages, dozens of entries, dates, names, and strange, calm descriptions. I killed Valentina. I dismembered her in the bathtub. I removed the organs. I used bleach. Another entry. I poisoned Andre. He was loud. He made me nervous. I put sleeping pills in his food. Entry after entry. Deaths, disposals, like shopping lists. Galkin's face was pale. "This is a confession diary," he whispered. "In the bathroom. Blood. Traces under the tile. In the cracks of the drain. The tub had scratches. Long. Deep. From a saw?" Detectives looked at one another. She had done it here. Right here. Back in the main room, they found photos. One showed Tamara with a woman, short hair, wearing a housecoat, smiling weakly. On the back, someone had written, "Valentina Ulanova, neighbor, friend." Valentina, the name from the notebook. Galkin stepped back outside. His hands shook slightly. He looked at the building. Behind one of those windows, an old woman had been killing for years. Quietly, neatly, without being caught, until now. July 28th, 2015, 1:40 p.m., St. Petersburg, Russia. The police van pulled up quietly in front of a different building, a mental health hospital. This was where Tamara Samsonova had been taken days earlier. She had checked herself in, calm, smiling, carrying a small suitcase. Inside, she sat on a chair in the waiting area. Her silver hair was brushed neatly, her hands folded in her lap. A faint smell of mint tea clung to her clothes. Detective Galkin stepped through the door. He saw her. She looked up, smiled, as if he were an old friend. "Tamara Samsonova?" he asked. She nodded gently. "Yes, dear." They led her into a small interview room. No handcuffs yet, no raised voices, just her and two detectives and the notebook. Galkin placed it on the table. She stared at it for a moment, then placed her hand on top of it, like a mother might do with a family photo. "You wrote this?" he asked. She nodded. "You killed Valentina Ulanova?" Another nod. Galkin leaned forward. "Why?" Tamara tilted her head. She blinked slowly. "She was difficult," she said. "She would not wash the cups properly. She left crumbs. She insulted me." She paused. "She had to go." The room went quiet. Detective Smirnova asked, "How did you do it?" Tamara's voice was soft, matter-of-fact. "I gave her sleeping pills, 50, in her salad. She went to bed. I waited. Then I used the saw." Galkin felt his stomach turn. She continued, "I removed the head, the arms, the legs. I cleaned the floor. It took 2 days." She looked proud. "I'm good at cleaning." Detectives looked at each other. They had heard confessions before, but never like this. So calm, so empty of feeling, like she was discussing laundry. "Where is the saw?" Galkin asked. Tamara smiled. "In the kitchen cabinet, bottom shelf." That evening, officers returned to the apartment. They found the saw, red stains on the handle, bits of hair caught in the teeth. They also found trash bags, exactly like the ones used to wrap Valentina. They found more photos, more names, more possible victims, and the notebook, page after page, still to be read. July 29th, 2015, Police Headquarters, 9 a.m. Tamara was brought in officially, now in handcuffs, still calm, still smiling. Reporters were waiting outside. They shouted questions. "Did you kill more people? Are you a serial killer? Why did you do it?" She turned and gave a small wave, as if she were a guest on a morning talk show. She even blew a kiss. Inside, Galkin watched from behind the glass. "She likes the attention," he said. "She's proud." Smirnova nodded. She's not just a killer, she whispered. She's something else. A monster in an apron, Galkin muttered. Tamara sat in the chair, hands folded, head held high. She looked around. This is my story now, she said, and she was right. July 30th, 2015, St. Petersburg Police Archives, 2:15 p.m. Detective Smirnova sat at her desk, files stacked high, coffee cold, eyes heavy. She was digging through old documents, years of paperwork, dusty boxes, handwritten reports, all about Tamara Samsonova. She wanted answers. Who was this woman? Where did she come from? Why did no one notice what she was? The file said, born April 25th, 1947. City, Uzhur, Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia. A quiet childhood, only child, good grades, but no records of high school, no graduation photo, no teachers remembered her. She seemed to disappear at 16, then reappear years later. In Moscow. 1971. Tamara moved to St. Petersburg. She worked at a hotel, the Grand Hotel Europe, housekeeping, then front desk, then manager. She spoke English, German, and French. Elegant, polite, private. Other staff called her the Lady in Gray, because she always wore gray and never smiled. One maid said Tamara had cold eyes like glass. Smirnova flipped to the next report. 1980s. Tamara got married to Alexei Samsonov. He worked in travel, tall, handsome, kind. They lived in a cozy flat near the river, but one day, he vanished. 2000. Alexei was reported missing. Tamara said he went on a trip. He never came back. Police searched. No passport records, no train tickets, no phone calls. It was like he never existed. Then a chilling detail. In Tamara's diary, police found a line. I killed my husband. I cut him into pieces in the bathroom. No date, no name, no emotion, just a line. Detective Galkin stood behind Smirnova, reading over her shoulder. She might have killed him too. Smirnova nodded. But where's the body? Galkin shook his head. Gone. Maybe eaten. Maybe burned. Maybe in the lake. They sat in silence. Then Smirnova whispered, She's been killing for decades. They kept digging. 2003. A tenant named Sergei Patushkin went missing. Tamara lived in the same building. He was last seen near her apartment. Tamara told police he moved to another town. Case closed. But in the diary, I killed Sergei. He was annoying. Another line. Another soul lost. Tamara had been writing her secrets for years. Killing, chopping, disposing. All in neat cursive, in red ink. Each victim described with cold clarity. Some she poisoned. Some she stabbed. All were dismembered. Galkin read the final line in one entry. Nobody misses the lonely ones. It hit him hard. Pulled up names. This woman didn't just kill. Disappeared people. She watched. 9 total. 9 people with no murders, maybe more. The truth? No one would ever know the real number. Galkin said, She's not just a killer, she's a collector. Smirnova whispered, a grandma grim reaper. Meanwhile, Tamara sat alone in her cell, smiling, humming a lullaby from her childhood. She had kept the truth hidden for 20 years. Now the world was finally listening, and she liked that. August 2nd, 2015. Psychiatric Hospital, St. Petersburg. 9 a.m., Tamara Samsonova sat by a window. White walls, white chair, white robe. She looked like someone's grandmother. Tiny, wrinkled, calm. But inside her mind was chaos. Doctors watched her from behind the glass. She hummed quietly, then laughed. No reason, no warning, just laughed. A man in a suit walked in. Dr. Viktor Nestorov, a leading psychiatrist. He sat across from her. Tamara, do you know why you're here? She nodded, smiled gently. Yes, because I killed people. He blinked. You remember? She giggled. Of course, I wrote it down. She spoke with ease, no emotion, no fear. She talked about cutting limbs like she was chopping carrots, about blood like it was spilled milk. Dr. Nestorov took notes, highly intelligent, possibly delusional, emotionally detached, may suffer from paranoid schizophrenia. He asked, "Why did you kill them?" Tamara tilted her head. "They were loud, rude. I didn't like them." That was it. No deeper reason, no remorse. August 5th, 2015, Courtroom 1, St. Petersburg Regional Court. Tamara stood before the judge, wearing a dark blue sweater, hair combed neatly. Reporters filled the room, flashes, cameras, whispers. She looked proud. The judge asked, "Do you understand the charges?" Tamara nodded. "Yes, murder." Her lawyer raised a hand. "Your Honor, we request a full psychological evaluation." The court agreed. Tamara would not face trial, not yet. First, she would face herself. Back at the hospital, doctors ran tests, scans, interviews, hours of observation. They found signs of deep mental illness, hallucinations, delusions, voices in her head. One nurse said, "She told me she was working for the government, hiding secrets, killing spies." Another doctor said, "She believed she had to kill, or she would die herself." But the most disturbing part? She knew what she was doing. She chose her victims, planned the murders, hid the bodies, and then wrote about it like a diary entry. August 20th, 2015. Final report delivered. Tamara Samsonova was found legally insane, unfit for trial, but too dangerous for release. The judge ruled, she will be committed to a secure psychiatric facility for the rest of her life. Reporters flooded the streets. She's the Russian Hannibal Lecter, the granny butcher, the killer grandma. The city was horrified. How could a quiet old woman become a serial killer? A reporter asked her, "Tamara, do you regret anything?" She smiled wide. "Number, I feel free." And that was it. The doors closed. She was gone. Inside the hospital, she still writes, still hums, still laughs, still dreams, and somewhere, her diary continues to grow. Tisne 97, 2015, St. Petersburg, Russia. 18 years. 18 missing years. Before the murder of Valentina, before the trash bag in the street, before the blood in the bathtub. What happened in that time? Police wanted answers. But Tamara, she only smiled. "I've been busy," she said. Detectives reopened cold cases, dozens of them, missing persons, unsolved murders, bodies never found. Many of the victims had one thing in common. They lived near Tamara. Case 1. Her husband, Alexei. Tamara married Alexei Samsonov in the 1970s. Handsome, quiet. He worked in tourism. Then, in 2005, he vanished. No report filed, no funeral. Tamara told neighbors, "He left me, just walked away." But police found no records of him leaving, no bank activity, no tickets, nothing. Gone. Just gone. When questioned in 2015, she shrugged. "Oh, him? Yes, I killed him too." Detectives froze. "Where is his body?" She chuckled. "You'll never find it." No remains, no confession in the diary, just that chilling smile. Case 2. Her former tenants Tamara often rented rooms in her apartment, a rotating door of tenants. Neighbors remembered. "The young man in 2000, he screamed once, then never came back. The girl in 2003, she cried on the stairs, then vanished. The older man in 2007, he was there, then gone." No reports filed, no ID, no bodies. But one detail stood out. Every time someone went missing, the garbage bags in Tamara's hallway grew larger. Case 3. Her friend, Lydia Petrova, Tamara's friend from childhood. They had lunch often. took walks together. Then one day, silence. Lydia's family tried to reach her. No answer. Tamara told them she moved away. New city, new job. It wasn't true. They checked. No new address, no new job. Just gone. Police asked Tamara again, "Did you kill Lydia too?" Tamara looked up. "Maybe. It's hard to remember. I was very busy." Evidence? Still lacking? No bones, no blood, no witnesses. But investigators believed Tamara could have killed up to 14 people, maybe more. Why did no one notice? That's the haunting part. Tamara was quiet, polite, helpful. She smiled, tended the garden, fed stray cats. Neighbors said, "She helped carry my groceries. She watered the plants when I was away. She brought soup when I was sick." No one suspected a thing. But in her mind, she was something else. A predator, a collector, a careful, clever killer. Police read more of her diary. One line stood out. "My task is not done. I have many more to go." Another, "The spirits speak to me. They tell me who to take." Some investigators wondered, was she mentally ill? Or just evil? Maybe both. To this day, no one knows how many people Tamara Samsonova truly killed. How many trash bags disappeared? How many names never written down? How many were buried, not in dirt, but in silence? August 25th, 2015, St. Petersburg Psychiatric Hospital, 2:30 p.m. Tamara Samsonova sat in her cell. The walls were thin, white, and cold. But inside her mind, the walls were thick, impenetrable, her thoughts jumbled, confused, but clear. A puzzle only she could solve. Dr. Viktor Nestorov, her psychiatrist, sat across from her. "How do you feel today, Tamara?" She didn't answer at first. She just stared at him, her eyes dark, distant. Finally, she spoke. "I'm free." Nestorov frowned. "Free?" "Yes. I'm not trapped anymore." Tamara had spent most of her life in control. She had a job. She had friends. She had a routine. But there was something about that routine that made her feel trapped. "People tell me what to do, what to say, where to go," she said softly. "They never listen." She glanced down at her hands. For a moment, her voice softened. "I didn't want to kill them, but I had to." Had to. Those words would echo in Nestorov's mind for days. Had to. The chilling finality of the statement. No remorse. Just a cold, unfeeling justification. "Why?" he asked, struggling to understand. She looked up at him, her face unreadable. "The voices told me. They made me do it. But also, I wanted to. I wanted to make them pay." Nestorov paused. The voices. In Tamara's world, reality had blurred. Hallucinations and voices had become as real as anything else. The sounds of her thoughts, the whispers of spirits, the commands from someone or something else. Is she insane, or is she just a clever manipulator? Nestorov couldn't tell. Her answers were vague, her emotions hollow. Some doctors believed that her madness had been brewing for years. Her isolation, her loneliness, her silent rage. She had lived a life surrounded by people, but still, she was alone. No one saw her pain. No one heard her scream. Dr. Nestorov tried a different approach. He needed answers, a deeper understanding of her mind. He began asking more personal questions. "What was your relationship like with your parents, Tamara?" She stared at him for a moment. Her face twisted slightly, like a memory, long forgotten, just resurfacing. "They didn't care about me," she said flatly. "They only cared about themselves." Nestorov leaned in. "How did they treat you?" Her voice dropped, almost as if she were speaking to herself now. "I was invisible, just a shadow. They ignored me, only when they needed me." Tamara's words were quiet, her tone almost a whisper, but there was anger underneath, anger that had never been addressed, anger that had festered for decades. She had been a lonely child, no love, no attention, nothing but cold silence. Later, Nesterov learned that Tamara had been abused as a child, not physically, but emotionally. Her parents had been harsh and distant, always critical, never affectionate. A seed had been planted, a seed of hatred, a seed that had grown over the years, filling her heart with darkness. But there was something else, something that hinted at deeper turmoil. In one of her diaries, Tamara wrote, "I am the monster they made me." She didn't just kill because she had to. She wanted to make them feel what she felt. But who was she really trying to punish? The people she killed? Or herself? Dr. Nesterov made a chilling observation. Tamara had never shown any signs of fear. No regret, no guilt, just calm, detachment. Was this just a case of insanity? Or was it something darker? Was Tamara Samsonova a monster? She had committed unthinkable crimes, taking lives with a coldness that was hard to comprehend. But inside her, was it truly evil? Or was she simply a woman who had never learned how to love or be loved? As time passed, Tamara's story grew darker, her actions more bizarre, her diary entries more disturbing. One note stood out. "I have to keep killing. The blood is mine. It keeps me alive." Could she have been trapped in a cycle of her own making? A cycle of violence, a cycle of need. Now she waits, in her cell, in her mind, free, but also trapped. August 29th, 2015, St. Petersburg, Russia. Tamara Samsonova's arrest shook the world. But it wasn't just the details of her crimes that sent chills down spines. It was the aftershock, the questions that remained unanswered, the unknowns that refused to fade. What made a grandmother into a killer? How did someone live for decades without suspicion? How many victims were there really? Her legacy. It haunted the city. It haunted her neighbors. It haunted her family. It haunted the victims. Family and neighbors. React. Tamara's neighbors were shocked, but not entirely surprised. Many had always found her a bit strange. She was kind, but distant. Too distant. Always kept to herself, said one former neighbor. Another added, "She had a way about her, always staring out her window like she was watching something. We didn't know what, but we felt it." Tamara's daughter, Irina, reacted with sorrow and disbelief. "She was my mother. I thought she was just eccentric, but not a murderer." Irina admitted that she hadn't been close to her mother for many years. Tamara's isolation had pushed her away, but even after her mother's arrest, Irina couldn't bring herself to hate her. Her reputation among the public. As the story of Tamara Samsonova spread across the globe, she became known as the killer grandma. Her chilling smile, her cold detachment, her bizarre diary entries. Tamara's name was linked to something dark, monstrous, unfathomable. She became a subject of morbid curiosity. Books were written, documentaries were made, social media exploded with theories. Some people believed she was mentally ill, others that she was simply a cold-hearted psychopath. There were debates, endless discussions, and many questioned how such a thing could have happened. Psychological theories. The making of a killer. Psychologists who studied Tamara's case offered several theories. Her lack of remorse, her ability to compartmentalize her emotions, and the cold efficiency with which she killed pointed to a deeply rooted psychological condition. Dr. Viktor Nesterov, who had worked with Tamara in the psychiatric hospital, theorized that her violent tendencies had been born from years of neglect and emotional abuse. She was alone most of her life, Dr. Nesterov explained. Her childhood had a profound impact on her. Without proper emotional care, she learned to disconnect from others, to view them as mere objects. But there was another side to her, one that seemed calculated. She wasn't just a victim of her upbringing, she was also a predator, Dr. Nesterov added. Tamara's diary and what it revealed. Tamara's diaries were key to understanding the killer inside her. They weren't just simple thoughts or random scribbles. They were a map of her mind, a glimpse into her twisted worldview. One entry read, "They are all the same. They need me to take them. I can't stop. They want it. They need it. I'm the only one who knows. I'm the only one who can give them peace." The spirits, the voices, the whispers in her ears. Tamara truly believed she was doing God's work. She believed that the spirits guided her, telling her who to kill next. She spoke of them as if they were real. Her belief system was her only justification. It was her excuse. But even if she thought she was helping them, the question remained. Was she insane, or was she simply evil? The questions that remained. As the investigation continued, one question remained unanswered. How many victims had Tamara really killed? Police suspected she had been active for over 20 years, but they could never confirm the exact number. Her connections to missing persons were tenuous at best. Many of the people she may have killed were simply forgotten. Tamara spent her final days in a psychiatric prison. She rarely spoke to anyone, preferring the silence of her cell. But occasionally she'd be seen sitting in the corner, writing, her pen moving furiously across the pages like she had something important to say. One final entry read, "They're still here, watching me, waiting, but it's too late. The truth is already out. They know who I am." The legacy of the killer. Grandma Tamara Samsonova will never be forgotten. Her name will always be linked to the darkness that lurked in her apartment, in the shadows of her mind, and in the bodies she left behind. She may be locked away, but the memory of what she did will linger. It will never fade. The city of St. Petersburg, still reeling from the shock, now whispers her name. Every time a new neighbor moves into her building, every time a body is found, Tamara's legacy will continue to haunt them. In the end, it's not just Tamara's actions that are chilling, but the realization that evil can exist in the most unsuspecting places. The woman who baked cookies for her neighbors, the grandmother who told stories to children, the quiet neighbor who kept to herself. She was the last person anyone would suspect. Tamara Samsonova may be gone, but the echoes of her crimes will last forever. In the dark corners of her mind, in the bloodstains on the walls, in the ghosts of those she left behind. October 5th, 2015, St. Petersburg, Russia. The night before her trial, Tamara Samsonova sat silently in her prison cell. The walls were thin, the light dim, and the air felt heavy. The weight of the past lingered, suffocating. Her mind, however, was still, calm, almost peaceful. But the questions about her future swirled. Would she get the death penalty? Was she truly insane? Or was she just a cold-blooded killer, too evil to understand? The trial. A community in shock. The courtroom was packed. Hundreds gathered to see the woman who had taken lives without remorse. They came to understand how this quiet, seemingly harmless grandmother could have committed such atrocities. Her trial began with the usual formalities. Charges were read and witnesses came forward. Her daughter Irina sobbed as she took the stand, recounting her mother's strange behavior and their troubled relationship. But the most chilling testimony came from those who had known her best. Neighbors, friends, even distant relatives described her in unsettling detail. They spoke of her aloofness, her isolation, and how she had always seemed just a little too detached. One neighbor recalled, "She never smiled. She always looked like she was thinking about something, like she was waiting for something." The expert testimony. Was she insane? Psychiatrists from the Russian Psychiatric Institute were called in to testify about Tamara's mental state. The question was simple. Had she been insane when she committed the murders? Dr. Igor Belov, a psychologist who had studied her behavior, testified that Tamara exhibited signs of delusion. She believed that the spirits she claimed to see were real, that she had been chosen to end the lives of those who needed her. Dr. Belov concluded that Tamara was mentally unstable, suffering from a severe form of schizophrenia. But other experts were not so sure. They argued that while Tamara's mental state was questionable, she had shown enough rationality in her actions to suggest she understood what she was doing. They believed she was a psychopath, capable of understanding the consequences, but simply indifferent to them. Tamara's own words. When it was time for Tamara to speak, she said very little. Her voice was calm, her demeanor cold. She seemed indifferent to the proceedings, as though it was all a distant, irrelevant matter. "I did what needed to be done," she said. "People didn't understand. They wanted to leave this world, and I gave them peace." Her words were chilling, almost detached from reality. It was as if she didn't understand the horror of what she had done, or worse, didn't care. The verdict: a world in shock. After weeks of testimony, the court finally reached a verdict. Tamara Samsonova was declared guilty of the murders. Her sentence was life in a psychiatric institution. The aftermath. The trial was over, but the shockwaves continued. Families were left wondering how something like this could happen in their own city, their own neighborhood. Some began to question the darkness in their midst. Could anyone have known? Could they have stopped her before it was too late? The legacy of Tamara Samsonova was not just her crimes. It was the unsettling truth that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. A grandmother, a neighbor, a woman who seemed to be like anyone else. But behind her cold gaze was a monster, one who had lived among them, hidden in plain sight. The case of Tamara Samsonova forced people to think about how they view the people around them. Could anyone have suspected her? Could anyone have seen the warning signs? Perhaps the real lesson here is how we ignore the small signs of something darker beneath the surface. Sometimes we don't ask the hard questions. Sometimes we don't look too closely. As the years passed, people began to wonder, how many others like Tamara were out there? How many other monsters hid behind the facade of normality? The truth is, we may never know. There may be others who blend in, just like Tamara did. And that's the scariest part of all. You may never know who the killer is, until it's too late. The story of Tamara Samsonova, the killer grandma, is over, but the questions still remain. Was she born evil, or was she shaped by something darker? What drove her to take the lives of so many, and could she have stopped herself? The truth may never be clear, but it doesn't change the fact that she was a monster, a grandmother who wore a mask, and behind it, there was only darkness. Have you heard this story before? Do you think Tamara was a victim of her past, or was she just evil to the core? Subscribe now to Unbelievable True Story, because every week we reveal the darkest truths hidden in plain sight. If you're drawn to real stories that stay with you, hit subscribe, and watch the next video on your screen, or dive into our full playlist of real mysteries and crimes. The next story could be even more shocking. Don't miss it.